To start the season, the Knicks are actually doing very well. But if you take a look at one of the biggest issues that they have, you can tell from each and every game that they've played, the Knicks' biggest issue at this point in time is size and being able to match up with the other team properly. Because in today's NBA, a lot of teams switch. And when they switch, especially on the Knicks, who already have size issues, it causes more mismatches and more disadvantages for the Knicks. And according to former GM of the Knicks, Scott Perry, he actually believes that the New York Knicks should make a game-changing move with their current roster. But not only that, he also mentions what position the Knicks need more than any other position on their roster. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. Former Knicks GM Scott Perry wants the Knicks to experiment with a roster around RJ Barrett. Now, if you're a fan of this channel and you go back to the summer, you already know where I stand about RJ Barrett and where I want him to be on the starting unit. He needs to play the shooting guard position. The 2. He needs to play it because that is what's going to unlock RJ Barrett and maximize his potential. That is his natural position. He is playing the wing position right now for the Knicks, a position that he cannot play, but he's being forced to play because the Knicks really don't have anybody else with size that can play that position well or that can play that position believably, because you need more size regardless of if that player fits or not at that position. But according to former Knicks GM Scott Perry, he actually agrees with me, and he believes that RJ Barrett needs to play the 2, and the Knicks need to add a player that can allow RJ Barrett to play that shooting guard position. Former Knicks GM Scott Perry said on the Michael Kay show regarding the Knicks, "I think they need a player that can create more offense off the dribble for himself and for his teammates. Some size, some defensive versatility. To me, that may allow you to maybe push a guy like RJ Barrett down to the 2 guard position where he is big every night against opponents. As you move further into the season, and especially when you get to the playoffs, it becomes a matchup game. And so it allows the team, to me, looking for a player that will allow them to play a little bit bigger, but still not sacrificing any athleticism. When teams do decide to go small, that size, that length does matter, especially when it gets to the playoffs." Shout out to former Knicks GM Scott Perry for giving us this bit of information when he was on the Michael Kay show. And if you know anything about me, I respect Scott Perry, love what he did for the New York Knicks, understood exactly why he needed to step down because clearly his voice wasn't being heard the same way it was being heard when he first stepped in. So I understand all the decisions that were made, and I have a lot of respect for what he has to say. But he's saying a lot of the things that I mentioned a while ago. Of course, the Knicks right now, they are looking pretty good. RJ Barrett is looking like he's comfortable in that 3 position. However, he's not a wing. We know he's not a wing. He should not be playing the wing position. Even though he's taken a jump a little bit as a defender, he's still not a wing defender. Even though he's taken a leap and a jump in his offensive capabilities, he still needs to play the position that is more natural to him. And right now, because we don't have the right pieces on the roster, we're forced to play RJ at the 3 versus at the 2. And he needs to play the 2. He's more impactful. We know he can do it. He's did it in the playoffs. He did it with FIBA, with Team Canada. We know that RJ Barrett can play that position. We know it's his natural position. But more things than that, we know he can dominate at that position. He drives to the basket. He's aggressive. He takes contact. He gets to the line. He playmakes. He finds his teammates. He does everything that you want him to do at the shooting guard position. The only thing he doesn't do is play it. And for whatever reason, Tom Thibodeau will not even allow him to get some run or some burn at the 2 guard. Sometimes they'll switch and he'll play 2 on another particular player, but that's with switching. That's not consistent enough. RJ Barrett needs another player on this Knicks team that will force Thibodeau to play RJ at the 2, his more natural position, where I argue the player that we see RJ Barrett becoming right now, he would become an even better player if he was allowed to play his more natural position. He is playing out of position and doing a pretty good job at it. Could you imagine if he was playing in position and what type of performance we would see night in and night out? It'd be amazing. Let me ask you this. Would De'Aaron Fox still be De'Aaron Fox if he was playing small forward? I don't know. That's because where you are in the court matters. How you're utilized matters. And where you play, your position, and what you're comfortable with matters. We know this about RJ Barrett. We've noticed since he's got into the league, the Knicks have never been able to capitalize or utilize him properly. Hopefully, they can make the move to get that other player on this Knicks roster to allow RJ Barrett to become that player we all want him to be, and we're already seeing him become, even though he's playing out of position. And that goes back to what Scott Perry was saying. The Knicks need a player on this team that allows RJ to move to his natural 2 position. And the only player that is realistic that the Knicks could go after in order to fulfill that requirement right now in season would be OG Anunoby. That's the only player that does it. Now, you can make the argument there are other role players around the league potentially the Knicks could go after that could give you that same benefit. Could. Maybe 50-50 chance on it. You bring OG to this team, I make it 80-20 chances that OG fulfills that role. And I might give it a 90 to 95% chance that if OG was on this team, and let's say it was Brunson, RJ, OG, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson. Let's say that was your starting 5. If you were able to get that and keep that, I think the Knicks would absolutely be locked in as a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's the impact that OG, or better yet, a dominant, aggressive, very, very good wing at his age can do, especially when paired with a team that absolutely needs him immediately, especially when you pair him to a Knicks team that absolutely needs his abilities and his experience immediately. What he can do on the defensive end of the basketball, especially on the offensive side, at his position, at his size, at his length, game changer. Absolute game changer for this Knicks team. Right now, they're arguing that the Knicks don't have the capabilities to play RJ at the 2. My opinion, if you are comfortable playing Josh Hart at the 4, then you can play Josh Hart at the 3 and RJ Barrett at the 2. You may not like it, but that lineup might make enough sense right now to play before you get that other wing in OG Anunoby that you feel more confident with. But nonetheless, as of right now, even though we all can agree, or at least most of us can agree, that RJ would look better at the shooting guard position, we know he is not going to be at that position until the Knicks get that player, that wing player that they need to push RJ there. And we're still waiting for him. And we can continue to look around the league and see who might be that player. But we all know CAA OG Anunoby is that player now. And as soon as he hits free agency, because he will, he has a player option, the Knicks are going to call, they're going to try to get him, and I hope they do. Because that would be one of the biggest upgrades the Knicks made since Leon Rose took office, and one of the biggest L's Toronto has taken in a very long time. If you especially let a player like OG walk in the distance for nothing, it would be absolutely egregious. Perry also mentions that he thinks the additional size with RJ at the 2 could be very helpful for a guy like Jalen Brunson. Now you got bigger people at the 2 and the 3, depending on who the wing is that they add, to go with Julius and Mitchell Robinson. Then you can see what you have. So according to Scott Perry, he believes that until RJ Barrett gets to play the 2, his natural position, and you get a more realistic, absolutely consistent wing on this team, like an OG Anunoby, once you do that, and you're able to get those pieces, then, and only then, at least according to Perry, is when you're going to be able to test this Knicks team and see what they are capable of and what they can do in this NBA. And that is absolutely something that is box office and something I need to watch. Love what Scott Perry said here. Like I said, I agree with him. The Knicks need more size. They are too small each and every night. Sometimes obviously too small on some nights when they play bigger lineups that are on the floor, like the Minnesota Timberwolves of the world, Boston Celtics of the world. Those teams will give the Knicks fits all the time, especially because they have a lot of size. If the Knicks are going to respond to that type of size, they're going to need to be able to add size themselves. Getting a proper wing and moving RJ back to his natural 2 position absolutely solves that. I just can't wait for the New York Knicks to step up, make the move, and actually do it. Because I'm ready to see this Knicks team become a top 3 or maybe even better seed in this Eastern Conference. But what about you guys? What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think that the New York Knicks should potentially look into making RJ Barrett the shooting guard for this Knicks team and adding a proper wing so we can see what this Knicks team can do? And if they add that wing, who should that wing player be? Do you agree with me and think it should be OG Anunoby? Or is there another player on your mind that you have to mention? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.